Manifest TV.
Hello viewers, you're most welcome to yet another episode of Soaring with Eagles. We're live on Manifest TV and all our Fanero platforms. We are also live on YouTube. Please tell a friend to tune in. My name is Pastor Joy Ninsiima, and today on Soaring with Eagles, we are honored to host a distinguished soldier, a national leader, and voice of insight on Uganda's journey. The spokesperson of the Uganda People's Defense Force, General Felix Kulayigye. You're welcome, General.
Thank you, Pastor.
Yes. So, General, today, you've been on this show before. You are one of the pioneers of this show.
I understand.
I think that was about 2 years ago.
Yes.
Yes. So today we want to talk more about Ep.40, the story of Uganda.
Right.
So from your perspective, how would you describe Uganda's journey as a nation?
In one sentence, a troubled journey.
A troubled journey.
Troubled
journey.
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, when we were celebrating 50 years in Kololo, there's a ceremony, a flag raising ceremony. The flag almost refused to open.
Oh.
And I did comment that Uganda has had troubled history, even the flag is testifying to it.
Yes.
Of course, people laughed about it, but it was a summary of what we had gone through. Having said that, you cannot talk about Uganda unless you go back to pre-colonial time. Because Uganda did not exist until 1900. Actually, after 1900. There were communities within this geographical entity. Excuse me. The Bantu, the Nilotics,
yes,
the Nairo Hamites. But the creation of Uganda was by the colonialist. And since our audience mainly is made of young people, I thought I should remind Ugandans that there was a history even before the colonialist came. There are societies which had kingdoms. In history, we refer to them as centralized societies.
Yes.
Buganda, Bunyoro,
Ankole.
Those were centralized societies. Then you had chiefdoms. Yacholi, Busoga. Although now we talk of Busoga Kingdom, but it is made up of 11 chieftaincies that only meet and agree to choose one prince to lead them. Then you have those that were having clan heads. No centralized as yet, they were still building. We call it state formation.
Okay.
Now, when the colonists came, they disrupted the state formation. Before the colonizers, you had traders from the east, the Arabs. They came with there for salt in Obunyoro.
They came with salt?
They came for salt.
For salt?
Yes.
Okay.
Eventually, the appetite for slaves also came up. But the main reason was salt. And then Obunyoro had iron, so they began now making guns.
Oh.
Yes. Actually, Kabaka Mutesa the First wrote a letter to the Queen. He wasn't looking for missionaries.
He wanted guns?
He wanted help against Bunyoro.
Oh, how were they making guns?
From iron ore. They were doing smelting. Yes. And for the colonists to stop that trade, they began cutting people's thumbs so they can stop making their own guns. Bunyoro at its peak was going up to Karagwe in northern Tanzania. So that was an empire, so to speak. You see how it was reduced. So we had these centralized societies, then missionaries coming. So first explorers. I saw one time someone posted that the Basoga carrying speak to discover source of the Nile.
So why were they carrying him?
No, the Wazungu were not walking.
Oh.
They would be carried by the Africans. So Basoga carrying a Muzungu to discover
the source of the
Nile, which was in Usoga. That's the disrespectful of the Africans. As if we didn't know the source of the Nile. So, then from explorers, the colonialists come in. But important to note is the creation of the division of Buganda based on religion. Because the Anglicans come in 1877, the Catholics 1879, and they are all telling Kabaka Mutesa that they are followers of Christ. So he asked them, if you are both following Christ, why don't you agree with each other? That's how the Anglicans introduced a different way of vestments for service. Otherwise, if you go to the Church of England, they dress like the Catholic priests here. They also make the sign of the cross.
Yes, they do.
But you people are not making it. Before you became born again,
yes,
you're not making the sign of the cross.
No.
Because they wanted to impress it upon Mutesa, they were different. They were not. But it was all intended to divide us. Then you had the religious wars of 1888. The religious wars eventually were, first of all, they removed the Mwanga and installed their own. Then the Muslims fought the Christians. They installed the Kabaka Kalema, the only Muslim king Uganda had.
Yes.
Eventually, with the arrival of Frederick Rugard with the maximum gun, tables stand against everybody else in favor of the Anglicans. So Uganda is divided in 1900 in the following counties. Chadondo and Mawokota were for the Anglicans. Chadondo, Mawokota, Chagwe. Then Butambala and Gomba were given to Muslims. Then the Catholics were given Voodoo and Ogochi. Why? You keep them away from the center of power.
The Catholics?
Yes. They put them across a natural barrier, River Katonga. The other one, Lake Victoria to the east. Then to the west, they had to contend with the Muslims in Butambala and Gomba. And that comes to have an effect at independence. That division, when we have the first national election in 1961, the one by Ben John with the SDP, there is no way British would have handed the power to Catholic. But Uganda had boycotted the 61 elections. So they took that as an excuse and they held another election.
What did the Kabaka Yeka?
Now Kabaka Yeka emerges with officials in Mengo requesting Sekawaka Mutesa II to form a party. The Archbishop, the Catholic Archbishop at that time, Joseph Chwanuka, wrote a personal letter dissuading the Kabaka from joining politics. And he said this was endangering the Kabakaship. Oh, they even punched tires of his car. The Archbishop. Two, as they ran up now to the 62 election, a clever man called Abeka Mayanja, you may have heard about him. These young people don't need it.
Yes.
Abeka Mayanja, I think the first Muslim lawyer in this country, advised Dr. Bote, said, you want to win? She joined with the Kabaka. So he leads him to Bamunanika, where Kabaka Mutesa was in his palace. And he had told him, he just put in a council and a prostate before him. He will agree to whatever you say. True to Mayanja's advice, Obote did that.
Obote joined Kabaka Yeka.
And he told him, let's join hands. So he had an alliance of Kabaka Yeka and the UPC. I've jumped to the party formations and what have you.
Yes.
In the interest of time. Because even the party formations have a telling on the divisions you see in our politics.
In our politics today.
Because the first political party was formed in 1952 by Ignatius Musaz, joined by Dr. Kununka. It was national. Then the DP said, but we need a party to protect our interests. So DP is born in 1954 on Catholic sentiments purely. And so the elections are held with these religious inclinations. The 62 elections, still DP had won with the 45 seats. UPC had trailed with 37. So with the alliance, because Kabaka had been given a privilege of nominating the 20 members of parliament. So 20 plus 37, they formed the majority, and that's how Obote becomes our first prime minister at independence. Suffice to note, we had...
the Kabaka then is the president?
I'm coming to that.
Okay.
Because it was not automatic. He had promised him to become president, but he required parliament to vote. But he had also promised the Chawazingo Busoga Nadiope to be the president. So now, how does he maneuver them? He eventually convinces Nadiope to be vice to Kabaka Mutesa. And that's how. So parliament in 64, first of all, the army leadership, which was still colonial, King's African Rifles, votes to promote Mutesa from captain to colonel. Otherwise, you would have a president as captain when the officers were above him. And then parliament in 63 votes him as the president of Uganda, but ceremonial president. Why did I say troubled? First trouble starts 60. The demonstration is held in Tororo. I don't know what the Japadora was demanding for, I don't remember. And then the army was sent to quell the riot. By the time they were done with them, 1,000 people lay dead in Tororo. Nobody was punished. Fast forward 64, the Banyuru were agitating to go back to Wanyoro. The rest counties of Buyaga and Buganga I'm sure you've heard about them. Actually, the Prime Minister right on Munaba is from one of those counties. So they demand they should be taken back to Bunyoro. Because the British had removed them from Bunyoro and gifted Uganda for collaboration. So the decision was made to have a referendum. Uganda couldn't let it go automatically. And automatically the referendum was in favor of going back to Bunyoro. So a few Banganda who had been taken to live in those counties also rioted. The army was sent to quell the riot in those counties. Whatever they did there, nobody ever got to know. But on their way back, they find demonstrations in Nakurabi against the Wanyoro. By the time they were done with the riot in Nakurabi, 34 people lay dead and some hundreds were injured. When they left, nobody was brought to book.
Why?
I don't know. But nobody was tried for.
Yes.
For such indiscipline. Now, that impunity is again exercised in the same year, 64. The army demands for better pay and promotions. And they mutinied. Now, ordinarily, mutiny leads either to life sentence, dismissal, if they are forgiven you. And all these three East African countries, the army is mutinied that year. Kenya, they dismissed the leaders. Nyerere disbanded the army and they put it afresh. In Uganda, the demands were met. They were promoted. They were given increased pay, starting from an month. That builds impunity. So in 66, when Obote and Mutesa disagree, I'm told, according to Akena Doku in his book, The Uganda Crisis, Obote ordered Amin to investigate as chief of staff. Amin ordered the soldiers to attack. The rest is history.
That's how Amin comes in.
No, Mutesa is exiled. That's how the 1962 constitution was abrogated by Obote.
Oh, by Obote.
Because it was a federal constitution.
Yes.
Federalism, because they were kings. Now, he must rule as a president. He needs the law. His attorney general was Godfrey Binaisa, Chusi, who eventually became
president. Yes.
And he advised him to change the constitution. Again, I cannot talk court supported to have said, I cannot kill a child, my own child. I was part of the formation of this constitution. And Binaisa said, if these things happen, we must not accept it. So, Amin had a motto, Uganda motto, meaning Uganda is on fire. And indeed it was on fire. When he expelled the Asians in 1972, gave businesses to his cronies, the economy collapsed.
Yes, of course.
So, things like sugar soap, salt, fuel were known to the common person. Yeah, I remember I had last tested the sugar in 1970. I tested sugar again in 1986.
16 years?
Yes.
And what was the reason?
There was no sugar in the country. And the little sugar which was coming would be smuggled from Kenya.
Yes.
In fact, Kenya opened a sugar factory in Bungoma to serve the Ugandan market. They opened the beer factory in Kisumu to serve the Ugandan market. For those who are not here. Now, those of us from the peasant class.
Well, that's what I was going to ask, because I was like, but I don't remember having a problem seeing sugar.
Because we are products of the middle class.
Yes.
Yes. But we in the villages, in the Uganda especially, no.
There was no sugar.
No. I remember in my O-level, we would have to do suicide with the porridge.
Yes.
Using the springs of the bed. And you take it without a drop of sugar. And indeed, we had to start with the means of rehabilitation. To supply those essential commodities that they were being called. That ministry is no longer there. Because we had to start revamping the economy.
Yes.
So I moved forward from Amin. We have the turmoil of 1979. Amin is overthrown. We hoped Uganda National Liberation Front, UNLF will be a uniting factor and live with the divisions. But the very parties, DP and UPC, broke UNLF. That's how those who had hoped in the unity refused to join the other two and form EPM. President Museveni,
yes,
and others, Bidandi Sari. Elections are held in 1980. Elections held, we made this protest of how the mechanisms. UPS wanted 4 ballot boxes, the other parties wanted 1. Because 4 ballot boxes were easy to manipulate. So, Pastor, what would happen? You enter the polling booth, you are free to check the boxes, which one is heavier. Because you are alone in there.
There were no agents, nothing.
Agents were outside. In the booth, you are alone. Excuse me. And the party symbols were were on paper, fixed with sorted. So you would transfer your party symbol to be with a heavy box. The others, there are many lot of details of how they changed the returning officers, the run up the elections, and the final blow. Mwanga stops the Electoral Commission from declaring results, and he becomes the Electoral Commission himself. There is history. But President Museveni had been promising, you rig elections, I'll go back to the bush. And then I remember Wakasisi and Rangaranga promised him, you go there, we shall find you there and leave you there. I don't know whether they left him there. And so, 86 we capture power. The rest, the young people can now have heard.
Yes, the young people know that.
Yes.
They really did not know.
So the history ran from this journey. Is that you cannot afford to ignore leadership. Because how will their means come? P3 graduate, primary 3. His vice president, the late Idris
Mustafa, is it?
Mustafa Idris, when they told him commodities are not there, he asked what's the problem. He said foreign exchange. He said the letter A to pick a resource that bring him and we shoot him. He thought foreign exchange was a human being. That's what was leading this country for 8 years and 4 months. I mean, it's followed by Professor Ure, who ruled for 68 days.
Yes.
Binaisa 11 months. So, total, we are boasting of 9 presidents in 24 years.
Can you imagine? 9 presidents in 24 years.
Yes. Our neighbors in Kenya were only counting 2 in 24 years. Tanzania, the same. So when you compare Uganda and her neighbors politically, you are not comparing equal substances. I think I can only compare with Congo and Burundi.
Yes.
Because Burundi has also had 9 since independence. So we must not joke about leadership. And I think that brings me to your question number 3.
From your experience in national service, what lessons has Uganda learned from its difficult seasons?
Yes. The lessons we learned is that leadership cannot be left to the buffoons. 2, for you to appreciate leadership, you must study your history to know where you have come from, understand where you are, and be able to predict the future. And leadership requires you to be knowledgeable.
You have a very knowledgeable president.
Very. Without knowledge, you'll be groping in the dark. They will deceive you. You can't deceive Mr. Museveni who knows these things. So you must be knowledgeable. And secondly, you must love your country. And we'll take a bit to the other one about patriotism. To offer leadership is not about personal benefit. You must be FON, F-O-N. A future thinker, a national thinker, and other thinker, always for other thinker. That you think about the future, you think about other people whom you are going to lead, or you want to lead, or you are going to work with, and then the nation. Why are you going to leadership? What are you going to do? I kept on asking some of these fellows I meet on talk shows.
The ones who oppose the government?
However, even those who are supporting government, some of them I don't know whether they could answer that question. So, we must be able to understand that the leadership we need is based on ideas. You see, there is a process. Everything has a process. Take how you prepare food is also a process.
Yes.
You must have an idea. An idea that attracts you as a human being. The gospel of Christ attracts you.
Yes.
When it attracts you, so what? Then you get convinced that following Christ is the right thing to do. When you get convinced, then you get convicted. It's after conviction that you take a step. So now you declare, I accept Christ as my personal Savior and Lord. It's from conviction.
Yes.
Senior in leadership, you must have an idea of what you want to do. You are convinced about this idea. You are convicted. I joined the army because I had an idea of what I wanted Uganda to be. Free from these hoodlums that were leading us. 2, I was convinced that we must take a step. Then personally I got convicted that I should get involved. Because when you are convicted, you are willing to give your life for the idea you have. Wow. Minus conviction, you are simply an actor on the stage. Yes.
And we have many actors.
Millions of them. So there must be consciousness. For you to accept Christ, the ideas of the gospel convince you, then they influence your consciousness. When you are influenced in your conscience, you get convicted. You're willing to die for Christ. You're willing to die for the idea you have that Uganda must take this direction. And whoever stands in your way in that direction, you will deal with him or her the way he or she has come. If it is in discussion, you discuss with your conviction. Because once you are convinced about an idea, you don't waver. Two, once you are convicted, then there's nothing that will divert you. Even material things won't divert you. Allow me to give you an example. They brought a Nigerian businessman in 2009 in my office.
Yes.
And the gentleman wanted an oil well without going through the process. And he told me, I have been told you can lead me to this. I said, yeah. He said, if you never get a well, I'll give 5% of the shares. I told him, sir, thank you very much, but no amount of money is equal to my country.
Yes.
True, no amount of money can buy my name. Go to a table and apply through the process.
General, can we first go into a break, then we'll continue with leadership and nation building.
Okay.
All right. So viewers, will be right back after this break.
Must watch on Manifest TV.
Hey everybody, Kiski here. Welcome to the latest and greatest, yes, a new show on Manifest TV. Every Saturday morning we're going to be waking up together to good vibes, and I'm not alone. I'm here with
Katrina Faith. Hey everyone, welcome to Kingdom Culture. We do all things gospel music, all things gospel events. all things really, because
We're gonna be here every Saturday morning, right?
One
date, activity, like I love it.
trust us.
This
Are you
1 hour we're together is gonna shape the whole weekend.
Yes.
It's gonna be a beautiful one.
And we'll also be indoors, outdoors.
We are creative.
Creatives.
Yeah, but it's gonna be a beautiful one. It's gonna be a very beautiful journey. We can't wait to see you on Manifest TV. We'll see you. Bye bye.
Manifest TV, Christ revealed.
Back from the break, you're still watching Soaring with Eagles. Please tell a friend to tune in on YouTube or on our Manifest TV or on all our Manifest platforms. My name is Pastor Joy Ninsiima, and my guest today is General Felix Kulayigye, who is talking to us about Ebyafaayo, the history of Uganda. So before we went into the break, General, we were talking about Ebyafaayo, but now I want us to talk about leadership and nation building.
Yes.
So having served the country for many years, what does true patriotism look like to you?
I had indicated patriotism, I summarized it into FON, phone, future thinker, other thinker, nation thinker. But for you to aspire for leadership, you must have a vision. The Bible says, yes, people without a vision,
They perish.
perish. Where do you want to take the society you want to lead? Two, how do you want to get there? You must understand the means. So, leadership is knowledge-based.
Yes.
Leadership is conviction-based. You are convinced and convicted that you must offer yourself for leadership. It's not grammar. You know, in a play, you are only a part of the play. After the play, whatever you acted is gone. Leadership is not a stage.
You have to be, you
It's a
have
serious matter.
conviction.
You must have conviction because you are going to deal with people's lives.
Yes.
So where do you want to take it? So from conviction, you have the ideas, you must have knowledge of the resources available to you. I'm not talking about the natural resources. The resources available to lead the people. Number one. Number two, the military. Because leadership requires that you must protect the people. How do you protect them? Prayers, yes. But in the canon realm, you need the police to keep around the order, but you need the military to create the order. The synchronization of security with leadership will take us together, but you first concentrate on leaders. A leader must know that to lead, you need certain resources to be available to you. How do you harness the God-given natural resources to build economic capacity, to build the security agencies? How do you decide what comes first and what comes later? Prioritization. No one here talking about salary increments, but what is the resource envelope? What do you have in the basket? What do you want to start with? Better pay or better security? You want to move in a Mercedes Benz or you want to buy trucks and the buses? That prioritization does not come by just revelation from your experience. It comes from knowledge. You must know you're serving humankind and God. Leadership that serves God and humanity will always be the correct leadership. Because then you know you are pursuing a calling. God has a purpose for all of us, individually and collectively.
Yes.
And for you to be a leader, you must understand your purpose. In a way. God's purpose in your life. Then from his purpose, what are his plans? Because it is this that will help me to answer what you asked me about what makes you, what sustains you, whatever, in spite of the challenges you go through. Conviction, purpose of God in your life, if you understand it. What's your calling? Is leadership your calling, or you are actually imposing yourself? Is it by accident that others have led Uganda for 5 years, others 60 days, and the President Museveni is going 41 and he's still counting? Is it by accident? He understood these components. One, the conviction I talked about, and had a vision where he wants to go, the resources that he owes to use, and how to use them. So, once you do this, inevitably, you must also have the spiritual knowledge of what leadership requires of you, the character. What the people call emotional intelligence. It's a product of character. 3, the simple word is stamina, but it's the resolve. Because leadership has challenges. But if you have a resolve to achieve this vision, whatever comes your way, you will deal with it. And I think our viewers would be interested in looking at the Bible. I will only cite the references, the scriptures. 2 Samuel chapter 5 verse 2. Joshua chapter 1 verse 9. You must have the courage. Without courage, you will waver. James chapter 1 verse 5. 1 Timothy 3:6. And Mark chapter 10 verse 45. There are many, but those should help us to understand the spiritual context of leadership. When the Israelis asked for a king, God had already appointed his own leader, from Moses to Joshua. And for him, he knew that they had what it takes. When they brought out their weakness, Moses brought about his weakness of stammering. But God knew that he had the character. Stammering being his weakness was not the issue. Aaron can talk. But was Aaron talking all the time?
No.
Aaron his mission ended with talking to Pharaoh, and after that he's the one leading spiritually. Moses did the talking thereafter. Because God will give you what he requires, what you require to implement his mission. That's what I would say about leadership. And for young people who feel disconnected, because I can't miss that one.
Yes, there are many young people who feel disconnected from national issues.
It's choice.
It's choice.
It's choice. I grew interested in Uganda's issues when I was in primary 4. By primary 5, I knew all the African presidents, all, by listening to the radio.
Wow. P5.
Primary 5. Now, by O level, I understood Uganda's politics. That's how 1980 I participated in the campaigns, though illegally. Because having been beaten by a soldier in 1978, I did not want any other person to be beaten the way I was beaten, for no cause. So, it's about what you have experienced and where you want to go. Even during peacetime, we don't stop reading. That's how we are able to follow the conflict now in the Middle East, and you can predict where it is going, rather than leaving the propaganda on the media waves. Because it may also use this opportunity to mention, the media is never independent. You talk about independent media. None. There's no independent media. Even media serve certain interests. Manifest is serving Christian interests. CNN serves American interests. BBC serves British interests. So there is no free press in the world.
Yes.
And for you to be able to discern between propaganda and the correct information, you must have knowledge of what exactly happens. And then when you look at the newscaster, you are able to tell these lips are lying, these lips are doing propaganda, these lips are telling the truth. These things are not just, they don't just come to you by accident. One must invest in time to inform yourself.
So, General, in your opinion, what are the biggest strengths Uganda has as a nation today?
For starters, the population. 72 to 73% of Uganda's population are young.
The young people, yes.
Do you know what that means? That's energy.
Energy.
That's market. 3, that's labor. Both knowledge-based labor and physical labor. But for it to be useful to your country, you must be producing something. You're either a student or you're working. Well, there are times when some young people call me, hey, for work. Then I ask them, what are you saying? Either you are selling your brains or you are selling your products.
Yes.
Or a talent or a service. Those four. If you are in none of those, you are condemned to poverty. You are condemned to poverty. And it's self-condemnation. Ask me why. There are rules of the state and rules of the population. The role of the state is to create an enabling environment. That's why Fanera has created this TV. The environment allows free press. Government has created an environment for free worship, freedom of worship. So you have born again Christians with their own media houses.
Yes.
In creating these media houses, they are creating employment. That's 1. 2, I'm having a cup of tea. The person who has prepared tea is providing a service. 3, people who are capturing on the cameras are employing the brains, the things they have learned. So if you're outside all these, what right do you have to eat? So the young people should not be feeling disconnected, because the connecting environment is available. You are free to think, you are free to read, you are free to apply the knowledge you have according to your interests.
Yes.
You are free to innovate. And once the society is innovative, then that society can only shoot to the highest level. Today, Japan is going down because of an aging population. Japan used to be the second biggest economy in the world in my days at university. Today, it's I think 3rd or 4th.
Why? They almost don't get many children.
No. I have a Japanese friend, he's now 56. He's not married. When I asked him why, he said it is expensive to manage a family. This is Japan. He only comes here as a visitor. But in this country, you can survive anywhere, anyhow. And that, unfortunately, has become the source of our problem. Because it's easy to survive. People can sleep, wake up and eat. I get flabbergasted that a young man, 20 years, 27, can sleep during the day. Only get up to eat breakfast, go back to bed, get up to eat lunch. Who prepared that lunch? Where did it come from? What gives you right to eat that food? Because I'm your father? No. As a parent, my role is to educate this child, treat him when he's unwell, dress him, give him a roof. Once you finish your school,
Find your way out.
that's the door. Reason. Comfort zone kills innovation. When the Europeans have been able to leave us, they were faced with hardships. They had to deal with winter, so they must create heating conditions. They must dress. That's why for us who were naked, they were dressed. They needed to keep warm. When the summer comes, they must get something to cool them.
Yes.
But in this country, it rained in the morning, almost the whole morning. Now it is shining. This is the only country you can sleep on the veranda up to morning and you wake up without pneumonia. So the young people must wake up themselves. It's personal. And let people not think I'm talking from the comfort of being where I am. I educated myself in A level. Nobody paid my fees. At the time, where opportunities were very limited. But the ingenuity God gave me made me survive through. And that's what I'm appealing to my children today. Where I'm talking about my children, all these are my children.
Yes.
That God gave you what it takes to live. He gave the brains.
Yes.
Did you know that in Africa we use only 20% of our brains?
We use 10%. 20.
Only 20%.
20%.
Those are the ones who think most. Majority of us
At 5.
at 5. The rest of the percentage of the brains is idle and at times disordered. I'm a bit blunt,
Which is okay.
but it's necessary. Because somebody must speak these things. And Apostle Bless, almost every sermon,
Yes.
he keeps on hitting on these things. It is in this country that you come to somebody and he gives you money from his wallet. Not anywhere else. You can't survive in money, without money in Nairobi. You can't. You can't survive without money in Kigali. You can't. But here, people eat free things. That's comfort zone. That's dangerous. Among the rule, and I think even the Easterners, once a young man reached 15 years, would get out of the father's house, build a hut for himself. The purpose? You are initiating independence from this young man into this young man. 2, you are making me realize that now next to think about is marriage. Now you cannot marry unless you have capacity to look after this woman, somebody's daughter. Among the cattle keepers, as the son is growing, the father gives him a cow. Property relations. This traditional wisdom was not just for luxury. Once you have a cow, originally you are looking after your father's cows. Now he has given you a cow, you're looking after your cows in plural. Your father and yours. So time comes for marriage, you have dowry to pay. Yes. So the whole thing comes back to responsibility. And you allow me, Pastor, this goes back to family. That parents must build young people in preparation for adulthood. That's why I had moved a motion in Parliament to arrest all parents who have ignored who had abandoned their children. And they came to them every day. But I didn't get support. Do you know why? I was sitting with some of the culprits
Of course.
in the house.
Of course.
Because children are a gift from God. How would you abandon them? And two, we have a duty as parents to give Uganda responsible citizens. Now, responsibility is built. It's not just built on the road. So, the young people, they have a right and a responsibility to be part and a parcel of the country's growth.
So the strength is population, the population that we have right now.
The first strength is population.
Yes.
The size and the quantity.
Yes.
And even the quality. From quantity, the quality. Education. 3, the climate. We have a very good climate. Just throw a seed as you go to ginger. Come back 3 months later, you eat food.
Something will have grown.
Yes, the climate. 4, the natural resources. Name them, we have them in this country. 5, our geopolitical position. We are in a region that is conflict prone. But we have a leadership that has been a stabilizing influence. Yesterday I met the director in Hima Cement. By the way, a good note, he asked about Fanero.
Oh, that's good.
That he says that side, this side of Naguru.
Naguru.
See, but they put up this organization. I said Fanero. He said yes. They put up tents, then they put them down. I said, yeah, times for cleaning. But 2, the Thursday service is in the open. Oh, because I was wondering why don't they leave the tent permanently? I said, we can't afford the dust. But this gentleman, on the CS note, told me cement, the cement manufacturers were exporting 25 tons per week to Congo. Who opened that market? It's the UPDF. Now you see that the relationship between security and production and development. They are able to sell their cement in Eastern Congo because we have created stability there.
Yes.
2, when President Museveni was repairing the road in Congo, you had the horrible.
Remind us.
Oh, parliamentarians, the politicians were saying he's wasting our resources in a foreign country. But for him, he was creating opportunities for Ugandan business people. Creating market. Leadership is knowledge based. I keep on relating these things so that you see why I brought to them.
Yes.
So, we must appreciate where we are, that we are in a country that is in a region which hitherto had conflicts and still has conflict in some countries. And 6, we are now, from this geopolitics, we have surpassed Kenya in terms of trading with our neighbors. Our balance of trade with Kenya now is in our favor. A miracle from the past. Previously, from the Cap, Kenapole, to Blue Band and milk, we were consuming Kenyan products. Today, Kenyans are struggling because our eggs are going to Kenya, our milk is going to Kenya, our maize is going to Kenya. Where we have a problem, we are eating Kenyan fruits in Kampala. With a climate like Kenya, where they have only 27% land arable for agricultural production. Ours, the whole of it. We are lazy. That laziness must go. So, this country is advantaged. We have comparative advantage over our neighbors as food producers. So this should be a food basket for East and Central Africa. I traveled to Botswana in 2018. That year they had produced only 24% of their maize requirement. The same year, Uganda had a bumper harvest of maize. That farmers were not given the market, were not shown the market. And yet we have a Ministry of Trade. What our public officials doing?
Yes.
That will come later.
Yes. So, General, of course, we have to have part 2 because there are quite a number of questions I still need to ask you. So, viewers, please tune in next week for part 2 of this episode.
Manifest TV, Christ Revealed. Must watch on Manifest TV.
Hey everybody, Kiski here. Welcome to the latest and greatest, yes, a new show on Manifest TV. Every Saturday morning we're going to be waking up together, just good vibes. And I'm not alone. I'm here with
Katrina Faith.